Hi, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about that surprise release from Marshall Bruce Mathers III, Mr. Eminem. We talking about music to be murdered by. My name is Holden Stephan Roy. This is the Headspace Podcast. This is the show where we break down track by track all the albums that come out, the new ones, not all, but like new albums, like Eminem's Music to be Murdered By, discussing each song, going into depth, detail, and length. So, if you're not that interested in watching somebody stand out over a crazy new Eminem project for like a lengthy period of time, this may not be the thing for you, but if you down to go in deep, check out the lyrics, go through the tracks, see what is happening here on this album, well, join me, because this is Music to be Murdered By. Anyhow, Mr. Christopher could not be here with me today simply because he is feeling under the weather. Montreal, the city where I live, is full of illness at this time of year, and thankfully for me, I got the illness last week, allowing me to have recovered in time to wake up. Now, before we get into it, I do just want to let y'all know, I recognize I'm not a professional. My opinion is what it is. I'm going to acknowledge now, this is a Stan-like review today because of how I feel in excitement for this project. However, I will do my best to be myself, critical in my mind, the way that I come through and spit the truth as I know it. But you may disagree with me. You may like what I have to say. You may love the album. You may hate the album. But either way, I would love to know what you think down in that comment section, so feel free to type whatever you'd like, and I will personally make that effort to answer you, engage in a conversation. And if you want to go back and forth 37 comments in a row, I will do it, because the joy for me in this is truly to talk to y'all after the fact, because I work in corporate America and I'm in my 30s and ain't nobody want to talk to me about Eminem these days, except for moments like this. Anyhow, before we get into the review, special thanks in advance to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prada, Jonathan Barnes, Teacher Black, Hurricane, Linda Williams, Coney Sparks, and Scribble. Shut them up while you're watching, because that's the kind of person I am. Anyhow, we're going to get into it now. I like to start the show describing my familiarity with Eminem, but like if I were to type in behind that suit reviews, the only predictive text to like show up that references an artist is Eminem. We have a playlist for him. We've covered a lot of his stuff. In the very near future is going to be our Bad Meets Evil review, which is probably going to be February-ish. That was already planned out. And then in a few months after that, MMLP2, and then we will have pretty much gone through all of the main studio albums, including today has Music to be Murdered By. So you'll be able to check out all of those on this channel if you want. Needless to say, I'm 12, Eminem drops. I'm like, whoa, white people can do this? And I have spent the better part of a decade, from like 12 to let's say 22, memorizing Eminem songs and being heavily inspired and influenced by it. Time goes on. We come up to, let's talk about 2019. So as a reviewer, I'm listening to the features. I've done the Kamikaze and the Revival review. So for me, Revival, lyrically, blew my mind. I really enjoyed the album. The beats, I'm okay with most of them. I'll be honest, a couple years later, mostly after hearing this very project, Music to be Murdered By, I finally get the criticism on the music side of it. Like, haven't heard this album? I'm like, oh, that's what everybody meant about Revival. But still, the writing and the content was there. And I really like that. There are quite a few Revival songs I go back to. Did I feel compelled to memorize them with that passion that, say, like a rap god gave me? Nah, but there was quite a few that I found myself not skipping and enjoying when they came on after the fact, which was cool. And that's different than Kamikaze, because Kamikaze drops, and let's be honest, that first listen to Kamikaze is like, oh, for like days, and then, you listen to it again and again, and it just kind of loses its luster over time. But Eminem needed to slap people. The slaps were made, and that's what it is. But the criticism's fair. What comes next? What comes after the album complaining about how people did not like your last album? Well, the complaining was well done. And apparently it's this album just came out of nowhere, and there were rumors. I had anticipated that a new Eminem album has been coming for the last couple of weeks, and usually when the rumor mill's going, it's something to watch for. I guess I just didn't expect it to drop now. And before we get into the album, I saw some criticisms online about Eminem being a dick because he dropped a project the same day that Mac Miller's posthumous release came out at the same time. And in my mind I'm going, I understand how it could look away if you're a super hardcore Mac Miller fan and you've been waiting for this and it's a super significant big day or whatever, but are people just not supposed to release music and perform their marketing plans and go ahead with their goals? Like, is that like a disrespectful thing? Personally, I'm like, it's just coincidence. It just so happened that this week it was a Mac Miller project, but it could have been anybody at any other time on any other week. And I don't know why anyone made a big deal. Why? I guess maybe because Eminem steals thunder and charts performances, and guarantee you he like broke records for decades, and all of a sudden we're going to hear very shortly how Music to Be Murdered By smashed every commercial record that was already smashed. So like, I suppose that could look away if you're excited for Mac Miller hitting a number one chart position, but I mean, it doesn't like take away from the value of either artist's music. And like, I just don't get why people can't like enjoy both. Or is it really just like at a base level, people are sad that when they went on Facebook, instead of seeing people raving about Mac Miller, they saw people raving about Eminem, and then it was just that their guy wasn't represented in the way that if you live in Montreal and you don't like the Montreal Canadiens, you're in for bad news bears on Facebook. I digress. We're here to talk about Music to Be Murdered By because it's going to be a long one. I'm going to go in real deep. I'm going to milk this for like as much as I can get in terms of like valid content. Like, I'm not really just going to stretch it for the sake of, but I like a bar to bar level. There is so much going on in this album that like, I just think it deserves the attention because Eminem put a lot of work into this project. Conceptually, it's really dope. I mean, spoiler alert, but I love what I've heard of this album. I have probably spent about 6 to 7 hours listening to this album. I've heard it about, I'd say a solid 6 times. So every song at least 6 times, possibly 7 for a few of them. And I like it like more than like the initial what the fuck of first hearing it. Like, I heard it at like 6 in the morning. I played it through. By the time I had gotten to work on Friday, and already my mind was blowing. I had so much trouble focusing because Eminem was there. Like, I just have to say, like, I haven't been this excited about like Eminem. And the thing about Eminem is he taps into your like nostalgia, right? So this excitement, this like feeling of like, I just want to like go try to be the best rapper myself, to like I literally had to write a verse after listening to the project because I was like, yo, it tapped into that primal wowness that like a 15-year-old me experienced. And like, I felt that like I've enjoyed a lot of Eminem's work, but in a different way than say when I was like young. And here I am, and I feel like a stan again. Like, I hated so much on Eminem's, like, marketing strategies, and, like, all of his features last year were just kind of wanky about his career, almost like a follow-up to Kamikaze, and I personally really had no faith that this project was gonna come and do what the fuck it did. Like, as in, have me sitting here with this tone of voice, this level of pure, insane excitement. Like, honestly, I got in trouble from the girlfriend yesterday because, like, she was like, I'm not Eminem. You don't even give a fuck about me. And I'm like, no, baby. Classic response that I came up with was, my experience with the Eminem album is even better because I'm surrounded by your gracefulness, or something along those lines, which she appreciated, but she knew in the bottom of heart and soul that the Eminem album was far more interesting to me in that much. She's lovely, but I mean, this was fresh. And anyway, slept on it, like it even more, which is important because sometimes like you sleep on it and then like, you know, it's not as enjoyable the next day. Anyway, I can see it's been a bit. There's still a lot to talk about. Let's migrate into the album title, which is taken from the Alfred Hitchcock music studio album, which I didn't listen to it, but appears to be made up of like classic Alfred Hitchcock tunes from the different shows and stuff that he's composed, mixed with him like doing his, the word macabre, I don't even know how to say that, was used like everywhere when describing it, like that darker, murdery tone to it. So he just does his dark humor crap, not crap, but like his little word speeches throughout the album, and those obviously get sampled on this project. So like, you know what I'm talking about. If you're watching this review, you've clearly heard the album. Or if you haven't, well, either way, that's cool. Let me know. I don't know. I'm really excited. So like, I just love the title, right? Because it's going back to a classic, and he's touching Alfred Hitchcock, who in a career parallel kind of way can be viewed as a shocking extreme artist who evoked the more primal serial killer-esque type things to, titillate the senses of Americans. Once upon a time, his level, and like there's a lot of parallels between Eminem and his art and Alfred Hitchcock and his art, actually. So if you look out like power moves and you're into reading about that, Alfred Hitchcock's name will come up by anybody who has well researched the topic, as they meticulously like describe the way he puts things together, the way he crafts a vision in his mind, the way he controls every detail and flows and ebbs and weaves his artistic creations into something that ultimately stands the test of time. I mean, there isn't anybody that I know that really looks at Alfred Hitchcock's work and it's like, that's trash. Certainly some of us don't like the older stuff. I'll be honest, I'm a little ignorant to all of his work, but pretty much anybody who knows anything about filmmaking and all of that stuff agrees across the board that Alfred Hitchcock is classic. But if you look at the subject matter of his content, in another day and age, you could almost picture people writing the fuck Alfred Hitchcock blog articles that people will target at somebody like Eminem. So that parallel of a master of his craft to the level of detailed perfection, the comparisons, the obsessions of the dark subject matter, like, it's a fascinating top-level comparison. But then you look at the title, and you know that Eminem kamikazed and fucking went in and like murdered the game type thing on the last album. So when you listen to that title, you picture that like it's gonna be powerful. It's gonna be like an album that, in a sense, when it comes down to that hip-hop concept of murdering the game, of being the best, of like essentially putting something out that people cannot top, it's like you're gonna listen to this music and you are going to be murdered by it in like that metaphorical sense, because of how powerful and how fresh and how dope it's gonna come in. And in an era where right now the king debate is going on and people's coming at Eminem, and you have 6 months of Nick Cannon and Lord Jamar's and all this other kind of stuff, it's almost like Eminem is responding by starting the decade off. Like, I heard through the grapevines and stuff that he was trying to get it out as like at the end of the decade. And if you think about it, if this had dropped on like December 31st around Christmas, this would have been the last giant album of a decade. Instead, it's going to be the first giant album of a brand new decade, but it really like sets the standard up there. So it's almost like a threat to other MCs in the title that you're going to hear this, and this is music that's going to murder your careers because of how like bar setting it is, how you can't touch it, it's going to be, which I think is freaking fresh. And then you look at the album cover where you have R.A. the Eminem Man, and I mean, he just kind of reminds me of when R.A. the Rugged Man wears a suit. That's what Eminem looks like to me visually there, holding the shovel and shit. So I'm going to go with R.A. the Marshall Man. Is there on the cover, and you've got the blood coming down on the red, and it has that old school throwback to like that darker side of cinema feel to it. And I think it really pays the homage to Alfred Hitchcock in what the inspiration is. And the fact that he's shouting that out is cool, because we live in an era where, like, check it, the greatest of all time, allegedly, has essentially taken his album cover to show love to an influence of yesteryear, which in and of itself is like a lesson to the youth and to people that you're supposed to recognize the influences and things that help you get to where you are, rather than just shit on them. So rather than making a point like saying, respect me, people, he's respecting his influences like that and showing by example. Now, I don't know if I'm reading too much into that, but when I saw the cover and the title and I took some time to really think about what Eminem's communicating with it, that's what I came to. Obviously, y'all could let me know if you agree or disagree. In the meantime, though, there's still like all 20 tracks to get through, and we're already, I don't know, like 12-ish minutes into this video, 13 maybe. Either way, I have a premonition this might be 3 parts as we delve into an intro. So it starts off and it's sampling the Alfred Hitchcock album, I believe. That is, either way, it's got these murderous tones, a girl screaming, it dies. And then you get this introduction of Eminem talking in like his Marshall Mathers kind of voice, right? Yeah, I guess what it is. Think it's obvious we're never going to see eye to eye, but it's funny. As much as I hate you, I need you. And then Alfred Hitchcock goes, this is music to be murdered by. And that's like the introduction, right? And then I think about this title, and I checked the Genius annotation as I do, and it almost and he brought up, whoever it was brought a perspective I didn't catch, where it could be like he's talking to Slim Shady. Like, the fact is, at this point in time, Eminem doesn't seem to have a whole lot of love for the Slim Shady character that everybody wants it to be. So you can take that as like a reference to internally dealing with his demons and having to tap into that part of his psyche or whatever that may be. And on the other hand, I think he's talking to both the fans, the media, somebody like me, the reaction videos, all the people that he's essentially been criticizing in his last albums, and well, in terms of like that point of it where it's like Eminem can't exist in this world without the attention, in a sense. Like, to get that attention, which he hates, he needs it, because that's kind of what fuels him. If the media, if people aren't attacking him, how does Eminem really tap into the Slim Shadiness to create another masterpiece? If he's not feeling away, like, how does he really get there? And I think it's an interesting point. It's almost like he begrudgingly accepts that there's no way for him to move forward, instead of almost embracing the things he hates about the world, the way people are, like it's like he's willing to do the tango again and play the game, which is really powerful. And then the idea of music to be murdered by just kind of coming in right before Nikki Grier starts singing and the beat kicks in and everything. Also, Dr. Dre is on the beat in terms of production, so just having that M and Dre feeling together again is nice. I'm just throwing it out. But yeah, I like how it starts. Like, instantly you're kind of ensnared, like, oh shit, this isn't like The Ringer where he comes in and it's just almost like too much. This is more personal. This is like, you know, that you're gonna get that same level of maybe aggression that we had on Kamikaze, but we're gonna get into like Marshall's actual feelings, which is something I was personally craving for a long time, because I did feel that, like I said, Kamikaze did not have a lot of replay value. Then we get this chorus. Got a premonition. I feel the end is near. The beauty starts to fade. The joy is turned to pain. I hear the symphony playing 10,000 violins. Souls floating away like feathers in the wind. So it almost feels like Eminem has an idea that he's about to take out the game. That, like, in a sense, the peace, the calm, maybe his life as a social recluse, avoiding how everybody is over. Like, he's reached a phase in his recovery where he's ready to, like, almost re-enter the arena as a full competitor coming in to take the game. And it's almost like what once made him happy is dark. And I don't know, like, you get this spun emotion of, like, he's hurting and we're ready for it. Like, we're ready to get him. And then he comes in. And at first, the one thing I can say I did not want about this album is for him to just be like commenting on his career. But the way he starts this is really strong. They said my last album I sounded bitter. No, I sound like a spitter who 90% of these hypocrites are trying to get rid of. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like, right away, it's a logical point. Eminem actually did kind of come in like a spitter. It was harsh hitting. He's fucking rapped his ass off on the last album. And while it sounded bitter, and while it sounded a certain way to a lot of people who may not fully comprehend the more deeper aspects of, let's say, battle rap culture or some of the more competitive angles of what hip hop is, you can kind of understand then when the media doesn't really understand the culture, then they're going to kind of try to shift it and craft it into what they want. And then in a lot of senses, there are a lot of people on an active conquest to, like, reframe hip hop away from that more vicious lyrical things into something maybe new, calmer, and more PC. So I'm like, I respect that. So in a sense, they're hypocrites because they're bitter against him. And so the way it just rhymes, it has an intensity, a freshness to it. The beat just has like this kind of tension that's over it where, like, you know, shit's about to get heavy. And then as we flow through, but why would I get a chip on my shoulder? I was considered one time as the illest, bitch. I'm still as fly as your zipper. And I like that because you know you're going to get bars there. He lets us know. And it's a soft one, right? So he's kind of questioning, why is he going to be, like, mad, right? Like, how can you really impact him? Like, to be fair, if you're Marshall Mathers right now and you've had best selling artist of 2 decades under your belt, like, what is a blogger who has nothing going to mean to you, you know? And the truth is, he's still as fly as your zipper. And when I used to review Eminem, I don't think I fully understood bar construction. And then I watched the Bodied movie, and it kind of broke it down in a way that allows me now to have these bars kind of pop out at me, like zippers have flies. So yes, a lot of people are going to get that bar. But the album is just full of these lines that like pop out. But what's cool about the way Eminem does it always is that it always moves his narrative as long. So by pointing, anyway, he's dope. True, I just get richer, but if it was ever all about Skrilla, then I would have quit a long motherfucking time ago. Bitch, shut the fuck up. I should go say that to Tech 9 or the Jigga. Nobody said shit about 2 Chainz as long as he's been here shit. And so you look at that, and obviously his rhythm and flow is just nice. Like, it's tight, it's diverse. As a common theme throughout this project is that Eminem does not stick to a flow in a verse. He just, every 4 or 5 bars, flips it up into something different and keeps it just dynamic and alive, as well as the beats, for the most part on the project, evolve and like kind of morph in the same kind of way as his flows. So it just creates this dynamic, alive, and replayable experience, because there's a couple of tracks where I feel like the beat doesn't do that, and it kind of loses a little bit of the replay value. So we'll get to those when we get there, but this just blows my fucking mind. Anyway, so he's kind of pointing out here, like, yo, people are like, Eminem's rich, he's clearly just dropping albums to get money, which is, to him, a weird concept, and I'm going to have to agree with Eminem here. The truth is, at the amount of money, like, look, selling albums can probably get you to millionaire status, but once you have millionaire status, if like you really want to make more money, you would not put out rap albums, because yes, you can make a lot of money doing that, but like especially post Napster and all that, like most of his career, like his money, like he could have just done a lot of bigger deals for more money that had nothing to do with music. Like if money's your acquisition, you don't keep making albums, and especially when your net worth is 9 figures. Like you can be a billionaire if you really want to. So I have to agree with Marshall that he is not releasing music for money. That's not a concern to him. He's here for legacy. And then I find, like, you know, it interesting how he brings up Tech 9, Jay-Z, and 2 Chainz, who all have tenured careers from like the mid 90s, basically back from when Eminem's doing it. And then, you know, he's kind of saying, why is nobody commenting that, especially on 2 Chainz, when people are kind of saying to Tech 9 and Jay-Z, like, why are you guys still releasing albums? You should retire. Like, that is stuff I think people do say about them, but the truth is people don't realize 2 Chainz has been in the game as long as them, because he's like Titty Boy before all that. So it almost appears like 2 Chainz only came in around 2012. But at the end of the day, he kind of comments on, I mean, this one doesn't have all the bars. It's more of like a point he's trying to make. No, I'm not saying that he doesn't have bars, but like the double entendres for days type shit. No wonder you're mad now. I'm looking at them plaques, count them. Fair enough. They're mad and jealous because he's killing it. And we're talking about the regular people, not 2 Chainz, Tech 9, and Jay-Z, who I don't think he has beef with any of those guys. In fact, he had 2 Chainz on the last project on that remix. Anyway, he's LL Cool J, bigger and deafer. That's how come. I sell like 4 mil when I put out a bad album. And I'm like, that's fair. He's like LL Cool J. I think Bigger and Deafer is something related to Cool J. I didn't look into that. But just the concept of him, comparing him to, again, one of his heroes, LL Cool J, kind of showing the influence of how he lives his life based on, you know, the way the album was phrased. And then he puts out a bad album and outsells everyone. And I'm like, that's a really powerful thing, you know? It's hard to hate a guy who is so well loved that his bad album is record-breaking almost. I'm not saying 4 mil is record-breaking, but to have your worst album be like that, that's an interesting flex that like few people in history will ever get to make, and I respect that. It does honestly, like we can criticize his content or whatever, but at the end of the day, like almost nobody else in music is selling 4 million albums ever. So interesting flex, right? Like it makes a lot of sense. Anyway, Revival flopped, came back. I scared the crap out of them. But Rolling Stones stars, I get 2.5 out of 5, and I laugh out loud because that's what they gave Bad back in the day. which actually makes me feel not as bad now. So, and I think that's interesting. I don't know which album Bad is. I guess that's LL Cool J had the Bad album. They gave that to him. So he's kind of like going, listen, if it can happen to LL Cool J, if this is something that, you know, who I perceive to be like the greatest can get these shit media reviews back in the day due to how people are not maybe getting the brilliance of it, then clearly they're going to do the same thing to Slim Shady. And then they also kind of do the same thing to Tom Brady, Tom Brady, didn't he cheat? I don't know. But I guess it's the idea of going after people with long-standing legacies, forgetting about like all of the wins, and then focusing on maybe a fumble here and there, and honestly invalidating all of the wins over maybe a poor decision in the present. And I kind of like the fact that whereas Unkamikaze at this point, you're on the Ringer, we'll say, because I'm going to call this track The Ringer Part 2. He's taking like a more mature point of view, like saying like, listen, last time I just murked y'all, but this time I'm going to take some time to explain to you that maybe you should just rethink the impact of what your words mean to me because of this. So you can keep saying what you want, but if you think you're going to hurt me, allow me to be clear. And I like that because I think what I wanted out of Eminem was the confidence, because Kamikaze felt a little thirsty to me, like he had to prove something. Whereas at the same time, you have Jay-Z and Beyonce dropping like this crazy album of pure flossy confidence. Like it was dope. Ape Shit's a fire song as an example. But like, Eminem just kind of felt a little more needy. He felt more like Logic in terms of tone and intent. And so hearing this, it feels like it has that Jay-Z legend fucking like, I am so big, you can't touch me feel to it. Plus the quality is there, it's matching it. Honestly, this has got me going fucking bonkers. Like, part of me doesn't want to be talking about this album just so I can go hit play again and keep listening to it. And no, I can't play it on YouTube. Copyright hell is coming. 2021 is going to destroy reaction channels, is all I'm trying to say. Google that European copyright law stuff if you don't believe me. Anyway, more people hate me than love me. To be fair, I don't know if that's true, but I think in the vocal minorities of the internet, that's true. But I read somewhere that you can't have fame without haters. So if you ever want to be famous, you need to piss people off. You need people to dislike you. So that's kind of good for his fame, but this game will make you go crazy because it's kind of nuts that you need haters to actually fucking pop in this era. But to go for BROKE, I was the G, like kind of like, you know, the G, the OG, but the OAT, so I'm the GOAT. Once I was played in rotation at every radio station. They said I'm lyrically amazing, but I have nothing to say. And that's facts. I remember all of this. So Eminem's dropping it, ripping it, but from a conceptual point of view, everybody kind of criticized him for not stepping in on political issues or having like real opinions or valid substance to his songs. And let's say I just did something like we did the Recovery album, and while it's actually really dope on a personal level with a couple of tracks, so much of it is just kind of, it's all right, it's nice. I mean, it's a lot about him and his feelings and stuff, but like, the idea is, where are you talking about other things? Where's the new content, the Joe Budden criticism of everything? Then he puts out Revival, which had a lot of content for all the criticisms that everyone made. It's part of why I really, really liked it. And I love the way he goes, but I have nothing to say. But then I put out Revival and I had something to say. And it's like, he wasn't trying to be all fancy here. He's trying to be as blunt as fucking possible. Like, here, I listened to y'all. I made a conscious album. They said that they hated the Awake Me, as in, so woke Eminem is a problem, boring. And I'll be honest, the police song that he did there, the police brutality one, maybe it was a little weird. Maybe it wasn't 100, but like, take the Ed Sheeran song with the way he handled the subject of like abortion and stuff from that, his point of view and things like that, or Castle of Rose, or like the one with Kim where he like puts that to bed. Like, there are just so many fucking intensely emotional experiences on Revival if you like the beats. But then everyone just kind of was like, it's a pop album, look at the features, why is Ex-Ambassadors there? And so they hated to Awake Me. He lose the rage, I'm too tame. And I'm going, yeah, Eminem's being 45, go Shady. And nobody else agreed with me. Fair enough. So he gets it back. They say I'm too angry. and that's what Kamikaze. He needs to go get the Dre beats. He should hook up with Tay Keith. So he has like this conflict of people who want him to go in this direction. And yo, I don't even know why anyone would not want him to be with both Dre and Tay Keith, because like there's something to like when you're listening to that Kamikaze project. I know what I said about replay value when you say, Tay Keith, fuck these people up. Raindrop, drop top. I don't know. I just enjoy that. I don't even know if I said the right song there. I mean, I like the energy. It's just not enough. Like, it doesn't make me feel like this album made me feel. Either way, Tay Keith is a great beat maker. I enjoy him. Fans keep pulling me one way or another. Haters pull me in another. Got more hooks in me than Swaley. I like that because Swaley is really a talented hook guy. So that's cool. But like he's also like kind of pointing in that as people are pulling him all over, he can fight back. He can handle it. He can take it up. And then when you think of hooks, there's a boxing to it. So about to pick up weights and lift my tattoo of Haley's face stretches. So he's going to get stronger. And then as the muscle gets bigger, it's going to stretch Haley's face, which is dope. And he can do that by boxing. And we know Eminem does like boxing. They said I'm a whiner. I sound like a baby. I dish it up. I can't take it. You do. That's fair. I agree with that statement of you. You do kind of sound like a whiner on that album. But I do think that Eminem can take it. And that's what he's kind of proving on this song. This song is him kind of objectively... I'll actually get to what I mean about how he can take it when we talk about the next track, because I just think it's more relevant there. But I think he proved he can take the criticism on this project. And that's something that makes him be able to stand there and state this line, because he did that. Anyway, they got all bent out of shape. This shit's almost comical. Wait, I meant no disrespect. I wasn't dissing tech. That was not a shot at 2 Chainz or Jay-Z. They probably feel the same way, because lately, instead of us being credited for longevity and being able to keep it up for this long at this level, I like that. Longevity, level, just like how, like, I mean, I kind of understand how, because we all studied Eminem for so long, but like, it's just, when he does it, it's got this flawlessness to it where he can think of these rhymes. I don't know that I could. Like, maybe I'll come up with one really cool one, and Eminem will just shit them out, like, for breakfast, and it's really nifty. Anyway, or I'm still twice as good as you'll ever be. Only way you're ahead of me is alphabetically. So if you're ahead of him, it's literally just gonna have to be because your name comes before his on a list. It's like, but the way he does, you'll ever be alphabetically, because if you diss me, I'm coming after you, like the letter V, because TUV. And it's an alphabet bar. Oh, right after the alphabet bar. I don't know. I really just... When I heard that, I think that's when my heart and soul hit joy levels that did not stop since I heard this project. Like, y'all have seen me be mopey and kind of not so energetic on the reviews. Granted, I just had a smoothie, I exercised, and a lot of coffee, so I'm a little pumped at the moment. But it's just fire. It's just so good. So let's just dissect that again for a quick minute. I like the fact that instead of letting the media run with it, because the truth is, he'll like say something like, let's look at Kamikaze. Everybody went at Lil Yachty like, dished you. But when you listen to what he said, he's like, Lil Yachty's music's not for me. It's fine. I get it. What he's saying there is, Lil Yachty is a valid artist, and I don't personally appreciate his music. That's not a diss. He, in fact, kind of compliments Yachty and validates him as like an artist and shit. Instead, the media ran with it, and it's just ridiculous that Eminem, it's like just saying a name isn't like a diss. And if you look at the context of this track, there are definitely people who are going to think it's kind of a diss, because they're just going to look at it, oh, Eminem's taking shots saying you should go hate on them, because like they're not really paying attention. So instead, he kind of goes, no, let me clear up the smoke before y'all go create a fire that doesn't fucking exist. We are all in the same boat as tenured artists of like a 25 plus, like a quarter century, still being relevant today, still being able to do things today. I hate on Tech Nine a lot for his hypocrisies about his hatred of a music industry that like supports him entirely as he turns into what he formerly once criticized a lot. But like, I respect the fact that Tech Nine dropped an EP yesterday, his second of the year. So like, we're in a position where or maybe it was at the end of last year, still, like, within a month or two, he's put out, like, 9 tracks. And, like, this is a guy so far into his career, so deep into his catalog, and honestly still willing to put it out there and try to do something new and live up to that expectation from the fans and hit that new level. And the fact that so few people in the hip-hop game can be at that level for that long is something maybe we should all celebrate more. Like, sure, you don't have to be like the hot and the hip and the young and the new, but what happened? I'm feeling like I got rebuked by Eminem here for maybe my disrespect towards him last year, and I should have maybe taken a little bit more. And I got these comments about like my lack of respect for his talent, and it's because when I do criticize him, often I'll go in terms of passion because I like him so much, and when I guess he disappoints me in some way, which is stupid because he doesn't owe me shit, right? Like I can be a little silly with it as another fanatic, as like all of us can be. But I felt rebuked. I felt like I should just, even if I don't like his music, always remember that like what he's done is empirically impressive to a point that it doesn't matter if I like his music. We should admire the effort, the level of effort for the length of time, the pure sheer determination and grit of his grind. And the fact that even after what everyone thought would be the end of his career with bad albums or blah, blah, blahs and all the criticisms and all the things, he's here starting out an album with one of the sickest tracks. Like, I'm looking at the time, I think I've been talking about this song for like 20 minutes now. It's going to be a long one, I told y'all. And like, we're at the end of it, and we're not even done. Killing everything, because remember, we had just left off like bars wise, and he's destroying the industry now at the end of his track. I'm coming after you like the letter V if you diss him, like he's gonna take you out. Killing everything, play this tune, it's your eulogy, because like, you know, when you play this tune, it's kind of related to the idea, I guess, of singing. I don't know, I just picture death. It makes sense. It's your funeral, prepare to die. This music is for you to be murdered by. And so all of that plays into the concept of death. The rhymes just keep it up: eulogy, letter V, and then prepare to die, murdered by. I love the way Eminem does it. I love the flow of it. I like the way he kind of introduces and drops the album title and lets you know that this is kind of like the overall fire back at anybody in the future who ever wants to come at him. Just throw this on and you just got murdered by Slim Shady, by Eminem, by a guy who, honestly, for a quality level, I don't think I've heard in a very long time from anybody in terms of like, I don't know. I can't remember the last time I felt this fired up in my soul for something. So I give this a 5 on 5. The beat is absolutely stellar. I'm really shit at describing beats per se, but just the pulsatingness of it, the powerful hits, the almost calmer, like it isn't like an over the top beat. It allows Eminem to thrive and weave through it and just tear it apart. Anyway, another great part about this project is how the songs flow into each other seamlessly, like a good mixtape would, in terms of that fluidness, making it feel like more of a strung out musical experience rather than a collection of tracks. Like, it almost like you have to listen to it in order. It encourages you to get into the next song before you have a chance to think. And I really like that effect that it does, because I think it pulls off very well, and you're not like ever disappointed. So anyway, the next track on this project is called Unaccommodating. I thought the first song was like dope, as we just experienced, and then Young M.A. comes in. I did say on the last track I wanted to comment a little bit about Eminem responding to the criticisms and feedbacks and showing that like he does actually care. So on the last project, Eminem got in trouble for his criticisms about Tyler, the Creator, and using a particular word. In the past, Eminem has been clipped on things like using homophobic slurs and all sorts of stuff like that, and why doesn't M do better, etc., etc. So just to throw it out there, on this project doesn't actually use any of the homophobic language we've come to understand in 2020, which is cool. Instead, he goes ahead and takes Young M.A., which is significant because she is in fact a lesbian. And I bring that up because instead of, you know, maybe saying inflammatory things that would piss off that community, he, on the second track of his project, lets this lady start it off and instead gives like a spotlight and a huge platform to a young lesbian artist. And I think that's just incredible in terms of, I guess, what I would imagine being an ally is supposed to do for a cause is to use your platform in a way that advocates it. So yes, I know that Young M.A is widely accepted. People think she's dope, etc. But the fact that she's here, like, when was the last time you heard Eminem put a woman rapper on his album? You know, like, that's really cool. I feel like that's like a good response. And then Young M.A comes in over this fly beat. Like, it just is like you just headbanging the whole time. You can't even sit still. Like, I couldn't sit still with this album. Like, my Fitbit fucking loved tracking the steps of me bouncing around the apartment, just kind of bopping to this. Like, it is so fire. This the way, the energy that comes in. And then on my first listen to Young M.A.'s verse, I was like, this is different. But man, the swag, her delivery, the way she hits it, like, I like a bitch that like the wobble wobble, shake it, break it. People, we made it. They hate it. I'm just like, the energy, because, like, you know, she is doing that repetition shit, but she's doing it with like this swag where it like kind of gives a callback to the influence. I think the wobble wobble is shit. Who is it shouting out? It's shouting out the 504 Boys 2000 hip hop track Wobble Wobble, which goes into that like kind of New Orleans-y sound where that repetition and swingy nature of the flow is really kind of prevalent. So it's almost like she's paying homage again to like the influence, and she's banging it out like that, and it just hits proper. But then instead of just keeping up with the repetition, she goes into pro professional, pure persistent, I'm paper chasing. I love alliteration. Like, alliteration's dope. And then the P sound in particular is an extremely popping syllable. In fact, it took me a long time to learn how to say P words without completely popping my mic every freaking time. So it's the way she does it is just eloquent, and it's just nice because she's basically like, yo, we made it. We grind hard. We work hard, and now we're making it. I hate complaining. I hated waiting. I'll pay for patience, but I hate to pay a bill. Hate that. And I like that because she wants to grind. She wants to push it. But, like, just, I hate to pay a bill. Like, it just kind of something so relatable, right? Like, in the middle of all of this, it's so human. Like, when people get success, other people hate. Like, all of this is not over the top. Like, Young Ma is spitting some real shit. Real in a way where I don't think it matters who you are. You can kind of relate to that. And then after talking about her dislike of paying bills, which maybe has a double entendre I'm missing, she talks about how she made a mill without a major deal. And her ass fake, she came for real. Money ain't a thing. That ain't a thing for real. It's the broke lingo. And I kind of like how she... You know, I was like, I popped, I did it, I grinded, and then this fake ass girl is coming to fuck me because I'm the real shit, and that's what it is. And then money ain't a thing, that ain't a thing for real. It's the broke lingo. I feel like I'm not sure if I catch that in the sense that broke people say that, or when she has the money, she understands the broke lingo and she sees it. I don't know. I missed it, but it just sounded dope, and I really enjoyed her swagger on it. I don't know that I'm going to go through everything bar for bar on the whole album, but I might because it's just freaking fire. Like, there's just too much. Like, I just want some face, but this, you know, facial, which is nice. She wants to, like, fuck, but, like, I guess it's, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Do Right and Kill Everybody, which is a backronym Drake came up with at one point, Drake mode. So I thought that was dope. Bitch, I'm trying to eat out, take your plate mode. And I'm like, oh shit, man. She, like, just coming in. And I like, it's like the pun on, like, I'm going to take your money, per se. I'm going to come in and grind. But at the same time, I just want to eat your pussy because plate mode and eating and stuff. And it's just really dope. Like, I find her, like, really appealing. Like, she has, and I've never really listened to Young M.A before, so maybe she's just always been dope and, like, I'm an idiot or something. But, like, she kills it. Like, it's just really fucking fun to listen to. Like, what up, Marshall? I'm a Martian. I'm in Wayne mode. Facts. Neck wet, big drip. I'm in rain mode. Drip, drip, drip. And you're just like, yeah, Young M.A, kill that shit. And you just want to spit to it. And it's like, this the type of shit, like the kind of verse when you're sitting there in your, like, office cubicle and you're doing some copy pasty crap that you just bounce around and feel a little bit flyer listening to. And I really like that. I really enjoyed it. Self-made goals. I like that. I like the idea of her promoting the fact that I want that. I got that because I put it there. When the pain leaves, where does the pain go? And I like that because it made me think. I'm like, Wait a second, that's a really interesting point. Like, a pain is a manifestation. It's a thing, right? It's a noun and concept because we can identify it, but it's kind of an intangible concept. So when pain actually leaves you and you're no longer hurting, where does pain go? Is it like an essence that goes to somebody else? Is it just a thing within yourself that dissipates to a backer place? Or is it because you put the flame to the tip of the backwood? It's where it goes, by the way, and then to the sky is where her brain goes, and maybe that's what it kind of is. So I like the way that she kind of correlates pain disappearing to getting high and floating away, which just kind of makes it have a flow and congruency where, like, I'm like, it's just really enjoyable. Anyway, then Eminem kind of just comes in and does this like game over Thanos on you HOs, and he kind of has like this slower, like goofier tone at first. I mean, he picks it up and he goes everywhere in terms of flow on this track. He does a lot, and it's just really great. Like, on my petty shit, but I don't paint toes. I guess that's kind of like talking about, I guess, how petty people might be. These young ladies who are all into makeup, these hoes, these petty hoes, and whatever. So he's kind of correlating in himself to maybe the cattiness of it, but not necessarily going through. Either way, get the plunger, because Marshall and Emma go plumb crazy. And I like that because it has the good sound to it, but I don't know, because it's more the follow-up line after the plunger, and, you know, plumb crazy just kind of feels like an extreme burst of something. Call us liquid plumber, because even Dre know. That's one of my favorite lines. I think I might just walk around, and because I saw a meme that's like, what's a rap lyric you just want to like shout out randomly? I think I'm gonna be in the middle of conversations and just look at people and be like, yo, call us liquid plumber, because even Dre know. And just walk away. Beat knocks like a beefed up Detox. And that's dope because Dre knows what Detox sounds like, right? And he makes the beats. And Detox is a Dre album. And the Dre know is the freaking liquid plumber I used in my bathroom sink the other day, because when I shave my beard hairs, it clogs that shit up. This is great lyricism, and the energy is dope. So to go from like that pure, like swagged out young Ma, is it Ma or M.A.? I should, whatever. To like this Eminem verse where he's already dropping these puns, and it's got this airier, fun feel. Like Premonition felt like he was making a point. Here it sounds more like he's having fun proving the point, which I really enjoy. You're going to need 3 SWATs or police officers to at least to come pull me off it, and I don't stop. Please, dog. I need y'all to keep talking shit. I feed off it. Standard shit. You know, like, I'm intense. People are going to come through. Detox and 3 SWATs is a cool rhyme. And I like the way he transitions into the next part. Maybe it's not like a bunch of shit there, but basically, if you piss him off, he is going to have the fuel. He's the complete opposite of these retards who spit these weak bars. I'ma leave carnage. Each thought will be so toxic, it'll block the wind through your esophagus. Stop it, cutting off your oxygen. Love it, man. Just the way he hits the bars, the way he's coming in through the more picked up speed. And basically, he's coming in with crazy good bars that are so good, it'll make you choke. Get it? Block the wind of your esophagus. Stop it, cutting off your oxygen. You're going to choke. You're not going to be able to battle against Eminem because the ferocity is that. Instead of saying you're going to choke, he gives that whole thing about cutting off oxygen. And I'm like, oh. I kept making noises. Like, I'm sitting there. You gotta understand, I got my headphones on because Bonnie hadn't heard the album yet, and I'm like bumping it a bunch, and then she's over there, and I'm like, oh, kind of like that, like you know that like geeky looking black dude in the that people put into a meme whenever there was a diss going on, like Super Hot Style or whatever. It kind of felt like him in that kind of feeling over and over again listening to this project. And I don't care if this review just kind of comes off in like this kind of exaggerated way. I'm already looking at the time going, holy shit, I'm only on track 2, but I knew it was coming when I got into this. Anyway, let's move along with the track. So he hits them pads like a boxing gym. Better watch for Slim. Better get to popping when I'm at the top again. Alright, that's cool. I won't topple. I'm giving it to anyone who want to come and get, and I'm not going to stop. But then they asked me, and anyways, before we do that, it's cool. He's grinding. He's got that energy, he's kicking it. But one of my favorite parts of his song, and I may have to like not go through all of these bar for the sake of time, I guess, but whatever, we'll just see how it goes. But one of my literal favorite parts of this project that like I couldn't even help but almost start singing along is when he flips into his like preacher voice and he's like, but when they ask me if the war is finished with MGK, of course it is. I cleansed him of his mortal sins. I'm God and the Lord forgives even the devil worshippers. I'm moving on, but you know your scruples are gone when you're born with Lucifer's horn. Anyway, I love that because he came in as the rap devil, right? And he's like the rap god. And then what does God do? God cleanses the devil of his sins. He forgives even devil worshippers, even like MGK. So MGK comes in and slaps at Eminem, whatever, beef. Eminem does his kill shot. But then time goes by and Eminem, as the bigger man, but also slapping him in the face like this, is kind of like, I forgive him. I'm so big, I can just do this because this is the way you're supposed to be. And then kind of shows how hard he is. You know, when you're from the school of notorious Puba Cube and the poor righteous teachers tutored my students, showed them the blueprint and my formula. And I'm like, okay. So he's from the school of the legends. He studied these guys like Grand Pumbaa, which is interesting, right? Because of Lord Grand Pumbaa Maxwell, which was affiliated with Lord Jamar back in the day. So it's funny how he's kind of studying Grand Nubian included in that. Unless I'm missing the point on the Pumbaa. But Notorious B.I.G., of course, Ice Cube. I don't know who the poor righteous teachers are. I should look into that. But I like the way he's like, he tutored my students. He showed them all the blueprint and formula. So he's talking about like now. You know what was obnoxious? All the little fake Eminem diss verses that have been floating around in the last year as everyone's going, trying to be like that Chris comedian dude or whatever. But like, no, man, all these fake Slim Shady verses are pretty awful and they're pretty corny. So I appreciated it when you go, but it seems like the more they studied my music, the more they remind me of eyeballs. I'm watching my pupils get cornier. I love that bar, man, because it's just eyeball language. So the pupils are the hole. The cornea is the reflective lens that kind of puts and focuses the light at the back of your eye so that the optic nerve picks it up. And the fact that he kind of uses literal language, because that's kind of how it is. Your pupils and your cornea are involved in sight, so they're watching using those things. So you'd literally be watching the pupils, so the students like that, but he's watching them get cornier, which is like cornea. And I geeked, man. I couldn't help it. That is a fire fucking bar for a person like me. Anyway, then he does the Bombs Away Ariana Grande concert line, which pissed off the mayor of Manchester. And I'm like, fair enough. I don't know. I don't know if it's inappropriate or tasteless. I just thought it was fine. I moved on. He just said like the greatest shit, but it really works like artistically because it flows into that chorus where it's like, they call me Saddam Hussein, Ayatollah Khomeini, who's an ex-Iranian leader. Where's Osama bin? I've been Laden lately, and I kind of like that. It just flowed in. Like, in a sense, it's like people do kind of treat Eminem like this crazy terroristy guy in terms of his artistic expression. Look at how I'm behaving. They want me gone away. They wanted John Benet me. So John Benet was a child beauty pageant queen who was murdered at the young age of 6 in her home by an unknown killer. So basically, they are kind of like trying to take out Eminem. You know, they're like using their media influence to kind of scapegoat him as like this terrible monster. And this is kind of how I take this chorus. Like, he comes through, he does his shit, he spits hard, and then in response people want to vilify him like a terrorist, which I thought was just a fascinating way to take it, because meanwhile you're just kind of vibing like, they call me Saddam Hussein, hey, Ayatollah Khomeini, where's Osama bin? I've been Laden. And I'm like, what? I can't believe M's making me do this again, making me spit out these names again. And he just did it. I love when he goes, I'm a clown like John Wayne Gacy, because that's a great like line pulling into the serial killer. He was the crazy con guy. Anyway, they call me Kanye crazy, apeshit Beyonce, Jay-Z, and I'm like, no fucking way, because Kanye is crazy, and then apeshit is a concept of going crazy, but it's also a fire song by Beyonce, Jay-Z, and he's back with Andre, baby, and the doctor's operating, and you're like, yeah, he's back with Eminem. We got that Slim Shady shit. If I'm not mistaken, Dre is involved in the top-level production of the project. I didn't look that deep into it. Either way, I like how he goes, but he never put no scrubs on, from Snoop K. Dot to Shady. And he's like, yep, I'm with the doc who's operating, and we've got 3 legends that this man has created. And I'm like, good point. It's just a fire chorus, man. It just feels so good and the energy. And then he's just like, shit of a about your or your silhouette. I know I did that poorly, but sometimes I'm feeling myself. I better check to see why you feel upset because I met your bitch on the internet. Now I'm getting head like a pillow pet. Anyway. It's pretty fun. He's just back. He's got a shadow or a silhouette. It's all sneaky behavior, meeting girls online. Then he does that bimbo can put her lips all the way around this bone and then blow like a dusty cartridge from an old Nintendo. And there, the blowjob pun is compared to on the Nintendo cartridge. Pretty straightforward shit. It's real good. But then he does one that just real fucked up my mind. So he's thinking back to the old blowing on the Nintendo days when he was poorer. Those were the days, but I bet you I'm never going to be broke again. No, I don't smoke, but I got paper. To be blunt, I'm rolling Indo. And I'm like, oh shit, that is one of the best weed bars I ever heard. So he doesn't smoke because he's sober now. He's got paper like Raws or OCBs or whatever paper you use. And then to be blunt, which is another type of paper, I'm rolling Indo, like Indo as in money, or Indo like marijuana. And I keep it 1,0000. So he just has extra cash going on, like it just flows. And then I like how he adds the extra zero just to kind of like add emphasis, like, come on guys, I'm that much bigger. Real, murder, kill, nickel plated 2222, bitch, shut the fuck up before I shoot you too, and shit I won't do just for a few YouTube views, run up in a church like pew, because that's what I do. And I like that because I feel like there's a little foreshadowing to what's going to come later on the project. But while he's killing the game and he's making his money, on the one hand, he's very shocking and he's willing to come through. But I also think that it's a criticism and commentary of the absolute ridiculous bullshit people do on YouTube to paper chase. So while he is willing to go out there and do all this crazy shit for views, he kind of relegates it towards, like, I guess, pranks or whatever fucking bullshit's out there, to the point where people are so extreme that they'll run up in a church like pew, you know? But then he kind of breaks the comparison away by going, even to the untrained human eye, we ain't the same, you and I. Somebody should have explained to you why. For you to go against me, it's simply insane. You will die. So that's interesting because after coming up with the fact that people can do all sorts of shocking shit for attention and views and whatever, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to pull it off like Eminem because there's a difference. He's much better at this. But then you get the insane you will die thing. That's why they call me kamikaze. It's plain suicide. I'm like, oh shit, he just did it again. Did you hear what he did there? So it's like, it's simply insane to go against him because you're going to die, like a kamikaze pilot who's basically guaranteed to die. So if you're going to go attack Eminem and unleash something like what happened on the Kamikaze album, it's plain suicide, as in it's basically straight suicide, but simultaneously kamikaze is literally when a plane commits suicide. And I'm like, oh, man, Eminem did it again there. But I know magic, and here go my last trick. I'm about to say abracadabra and pull a bee rabbit up out of my hat. And I like that because he's going back to like when his career was like popping and the way he dropped the 8 Mile movie and everything. It was like a magic trick in a sense. Anyway. So that's real cool. I'm about to relapse, and I bet you won't know how to react, but look at disgust. I don't doubt it'll be that. As I begin fucking devour the track, and you backpedal. That is a cowardly act, like a Saudi attack when the towers collapsed. So I like what he kind of flips it there. He's saying, when I come back with some ferocity and I attack back, you who came at me and attacked me are going to backpedal and run away and be kind of scared and shit. And if you really think about it, that's a cowardly thing to do. Like the cowardly way that the Saudi attack against the towers, you know, like, because if you trace it, it can be tied to them, I suppose. I don't remember 1,000% right now. But the idea is your cowardice, your almost terroristic attacks on his career, taking the little guerrilla warfare styles when Eminem's coming through with the full guns blazing shit. And then at the end of the day, you're the one who in your attacks on him are kind of behaving more like what you would expect from a terrorist force. And then he goes back to, they call me Saddam Hussein, you know, and then he flows into that chorus. And I'm just sitting here going, that was a lot. Like, that was a lot to unpackage and go through because I don't know, man. Eminem did it for us. He did it again. And I mean, again, I know this has been super lengthy, but like to me, there's just that much to unpackage. It's not like the other projects. It's just you're excited to go through it. The stuff he's saying is intelligent. It's easy to get behind conceptually. I'm blown away. We're gonna have to give this another 5 on 5, and that's just what it is. And I suppose as we keep talking about it, we're gonna have some more features, and you gonna learn. Whew, we have a song that has like a nice chunky chorus that takes up time, so there's a little bit less bars, even though it's 4 minutes, which is, from my reviewing perspective, like this one might be a little bit faster, but maybe not, because You Gonna Learn features White Gold, who does this excellent and beautiful fucking chorus over this illustrious beat, which is apparently produced by Louis, Resto, Eminem, and Royce himself. It features Royce doing the first verse, M doing the second verse, and what you're in for here is an absolute treat as far as lyricisms and rhymes go. As far as my grade goes, everything about the quality of the performance of Eminem and everything at like a technical level is, in my opinion, equal to all the other 2 tracks we've heard. So I'm giving this a 4.5 on 5 off the jump, because the sound did not enthrall me as deeply as most of the others did. So anything that's like that is simply just preference. Like if I'm gonna go throw on a rando song, I don't think You Gonna Learn is the first one. Like I throw on Unaccommodating faster than I would throw on You Gonna Learn as an example. That doesn't make anything against Royce or anything, because Royce kills it. And again, that chorus is just so good. Like, praise it to my little boy, you gonna learn. And it has like this edge to it. And the way the beat just like picks up in intensity and almost rocks out a little bit to that chorus. It's nice. It sets the tone on this song. All them pretty bitches leave your ass in the urn. You ain't sold your last rock, you just better earn. But I pray you see tomorrow, little boy, you gonna learn. So right away, the track kind of takes you into this grind mode. This you almost picture poverty. Somebody who maybe is going after girls and they're taking advantage of him. The situations in life aren't pulling it out. You're selling a certain thing on the side over there, and you just got to keep earning, got to keep making that stacks in the effort to escape this environment and go to somewhere else. Meanwhile, day in, day out, you're praying that you're going to see tomorrow. And as time goes on, you're going to learn. And then I like that. I like the kind of intensity to it. And I also like the fact that it's like, again, like almost like a serious theme, like Eminem kind of referencing the hood a little bit in this kind of thing, even though Royce is there and it kind of stacks out, whatever. But just seeing that on an Eminem album in this kind of context and that kind of almost grindiness to it, like that intensity, the emotional empathy of that chorus, I really like it. It really hits heavy. Then Royce is just fucking brilliant, man. I'm a product of properly hopping the butter, that poverty propping and offer to copping and swapping that property up for a possible monopoly. I'm just like, oh, it just felt good. It just is nice. But when you're listening to what he's saying, he's like, I used to be like in the poorest of the poor situations, but I got out of that environment. I got my money on, and then basically I'm working towards improving my property situation and playing a bigger real estate game, which is in a sense how the literal board game Monopoly works. So for a possible monopoly, which is also like his control of the music industry, but literally Monopoly is about swapping that property. And I'm like, that's dope. That's some lyrical shit. Nobody commented that annotation on Genius. Maybe I should do that. But nah, I'm not really interested as we're sitting here talking about forget. But that's really cool. Trying not to adopt my father's old philosophies, which if you listen to Book of Ryan or you just know about Royce, you understand that there's a certain drug addiction situation that he's trying to stay away from him. And, his sobriety is important to him too. Same time, he's praying to God that everything works out at his colonoscopy. And I like that humanistic touch, man. I love the way Royce da 5'9" makes you feel like a human listening to his music. It makes you feel like Royce is this humble person. So as much as he looks at his father as a source of something to avoid in a sense, he also has the empathy and love that he can be okay and be there so that there's something to build on almost, it's really nice. But also it's like, I guess maybe a fear that if it works out for him, it works out for Royce too, because some of that colonoscopy stuff could be genetic. I'm walking across a suicidal tightrope intentionally while the demons coming out me. Wifey's on the side of me talking sense to me. Without me, I feel incomplete mentally. She's been sent to me. And I love that too, because in the last 5 years of my life, I've had the wifey on my side, we can say. And my life has gotten to a point where I appreciate how she talks sense into me. And even the calmer, more intellectual tone the review has taken away from maybe the more juvenile, aggressive tone it was when I started. Like, all of this has a lot to do with wifey talking to my ear. And to know that, like, I guess Royce has like that woman, that rock in his life to like keep him focused, and knowing that I go through these emotional situations, and knowing that in my life she keeps me focused like that. I like that. I like relating to my favorite rappers. That's just fun for me to be able to go, hey, favorite rapper, he has human experiences like me. And I like that. And I think we need more of that in life in general, especially admitting like just the struggles we go through and whatnot. Anyway, what I also love is when he cuts ahead, he's like comments on his daughter, but when he goes, targeting my kids and babies through population and gun control, shit make me want to make 100 more, make a bigot racist and comfortable. And I love that because he kind of touches into some social political situations, as in there is a prevalent theory that the way hoods are set up with the guns and the liquor stores and the bad habits and the way the family unit is fragmented is an active attempt from a racist system to kill young black people and keep them from procreating. Like, you're encouraged to get abortions and all these things, but it's perceived as a sense of population control. I'm not knowledgeable enough on the subject to say yes or no either way, but to hear Royce speak on it in this day and age and to kind of fight against that shit, I find it really interesting. And his response is to breed and make more black kids in the world to make a bigot racist and comfortable. Like, you can't stop us. We will multiply and we will thrive. It feels so powerful. And the fact that, like, the first time you're hearing Royce on the album, you hear him being like, you know, I hope my dad's going to be okay. I got out of a bad environment. I'm trying to, you know, stack and come around here. My wife keeps me grounded, or wifey. I don't know if they're married. My kids are important. Racism is fucking bad. I'm like, that's a lot of content to be dropping in like the first verse of this track here, which is cool because it adds spice to this Eminem project. It makes it a little bit more tasty. And then I love the way he ends his verse because conceptually he uses language to again speak against people. If y'all against talk and reparation, then I'm not against the thought of separation. So here it's saying that, look, at the end of the day, if y'all don't want to play ball, and this is very Malcolm X-y, I find, if y'all don't want to give back and make up for the past sins of the generation, he's like, that's totally cool. You do you. We'll go separate and make our own thing over there that has nothing to do with you. In which case, he is talking to the ignorant white folk out there. While the politicians that are white and privileged ask how is this different from segregation, he responds with, that's funny, bro. And I agree with him because before he says the next line, I'm like, yeah, that's a funny thing that we do. And by we, I mean privileged white folk of the not poor variety, because I'm straight middle class. So at this point, like, sometimes I say some shit and I'm like, damn, when did I stop being lower at, like, I used to be poor when I was young. Like, we grew up on welfare type shit. And now I'm like kind of detached from that and have to really check my privileges and things in life. And I don't say these words as SJW buzz crap. I mean, my last name is Roy, a French last name in Quebec. There are literal tangible benefits in terms of job applications than if your last name is Henry, let's say, because that's not a French last name. So I've seen some shit go down in terms of just nepotism and crap like that. And so I appreciate where he's coming from when people feign ignorance because it benefits them. I digress. That's not necessarily the fun content, but that's the real content that we're getting. I like how he answers the question, though. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people take the time to do. So he puts up with the fact that he still has to explain shit that is probably self-evident to many people. But segregation is being told where I'm going to go. As in, y'all forced me into the hood, into these bad environments, and you segregated it. And if y'all don't really understand what segregation's about, there were like literal laws that would state that a lease of a house could not be sold to a black person, in a sense forcing neighborhoods, like having neighborhoods where it would be literally illegal for black people to live. So they were literally forced into other neighborhoods where they had to be. That is what segregation is about. It's you can't be here, you must be there. Where he responds then with separation is being woke and going wherever I want to go. And in this point, we kind of migrate to, but like the difference is the end result looks the same. We over here, you're over there. But the difference is you told me to go here in your version. I chose to be here in my version based on my own accord. And I love that. I think it's powerful. I think it's strong. And I think it's explanatory in a way that's dope. Then you get the hook coming back in. And I feel like now it slaps harder because you've got that verse from Royce, which is set up the context and the aggression and the strength of just overcoming consequence. And then you're going, what's Eminem going to do? Because like, I thought back to the Rainy Days song with Boogie, where on that album, Boogie had been kind of like struggle, and then Eminem's verse kind of felt, my legacy is important, and it felt like out of touch, so I was a little worried we were going to go there. I can tell you, I'm not worried about it no more. I have faith that an Eminem album's going to be proper, because he starts off with like, never sold dope from the gold rope, one-on-one though, they were so dope. Was a have-not because my pockets didn't have knots, I was so broke. On my last rock for my slingshot, better haul ass, don't be no slowpoke through the tall grass when your ass off. So he kind of looked at the fashion, the gold ropes and shit, you know, like conventional drug dealer, you know, attire in terms of the stereotypes. And he comments, I didn't do what they did, but I wanted one. And so he's being straight up about it. But even though he never went down that life, he was still poor and broke. And I love the way he goes from have not to have nots, as in like, you know, I guess stacks or whatever. I was so broke instead of so dope. And I just like the way he plays it. Like, that's so cool. I'm not very cool. On my last rock, because in the sense selling rocks would be like referenced in the chorus, but on his last rock, which is different than the crack being referenced in the chorus, he's talking about literally being a little tomfoolery with his slingshot and shit. Then he makes a poke bar. Now, what I learned about Pokemon is if it has to do with Pokemon, you just put poke in front of it and it's a totally acceptable term. So this is a bar, but it's actually a poke bar, because better haul ass, don't be no slowpoke. Slowpoke is a Pokemon. Okay, it's just dope. Through the tall grass, because when you're in the tall grass, that's when the Pokemon appear. Eminem plays Pokemon. That was the fucking coolest part about this album for me. I'm just picturing Eminem playing Pokemon Go. I'm just picturing Eminem sitting there on the tour bus playing Pokemon Silver and shit, and that is awesome imagery in my mind. Anyway, run your ass off. Oh no, don't get your pants caught on the fence post. And that's interesting because when you're running through Pokemon, you can jump over the fence post when you go down. And I thought I was kind of playing in again. Maybe I'm stretching there, but still, when you're running, you don't want to get caught. Getting chased by them jack boys, think it's about to fuzz. But meanwhile, if you really think about what he's saying, he's like, yo, I'm in the hood and I'm trying to get away from people trying to beat me down and shit. Like a lint roller, they wait till it's late, then they tiptoe through your living room window, take your Nintendo, then skate, making you feel like you got bent over and raped. Little boy, you're never going to get no rope chain. Get your shit stole and your lips swole. And I'm like, oh, fuck, eh? And Eminem's doing that thing here where he goes into his past and like tells us some stories about where he comes from and kind of gives us that humility to explain like a little bit why he's so unaccommodating. So if we look at the first track on this project, we have Eminem kind of introducing the theme, the point, and giving a sensible answer to like the media, the fans, and everybody about where he is and what he's doing. Unaccommodating kind of goes into how fucking dope he is and how he sets bars, and he's just not going to listen to people, and they're going to perceive him as unaccommodating in the sense that he does what he does. So he's like, I am this. Now you're going to learn. He's kind of going and explaining a little bit of his past to justify how he became so unaccommodating in this, and going like bringing you back, because you know, in a sense, Premonition is the present, unaccommodating is the future in a sense, and now we're going a little bit to the past to look at how we got to this place, and I think it's so fucking cool. Anyway, so he gets better, he gets, you know, a little bit older. I'm just like, again, not going to read literally everything, but I like when he goes, then I began to explode, detonate, now the east side went schizo, thought my name was B-side because they flipped my tape over. And that's cool, right? Because that would imply that his shit was so fire that once they got through the A side of the tape, they had to flip it over and play it because they just couldn't get enough of it. And I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Anyway, there's a lot more in this song for real though, and I won't hesitate to get them all bent so to shit. Oh shit, bro, hold up, wait, I just tripped over my cape. Superman, and that made me think about the track Superman. I'm not gonna let up, treat the paper like I'm chopping a letter. Dre will tell you how I shred. So when you refer to the guy next to the dock, you meant shredder. And I like how he's kind of does his little Ninja Turtles bar there, but basically he created music and he kept flipping it and getting faster, and he started chopping up life and language and just being fucking dope with it. Anyway, now the cops want to set up roadblocks on my head. I got several bounties from feds in every county. I'm with a gal at a Checkers wildin', bumping fuck the police while I fed her rallies. And I kind of feel what he's doing there is saying that I went crazy with all my shit, and then the social police are setting up these roadblocks. So it's kind of, again, commenting on the media and other people and how they're kind of getting in without an understanding of him just trying to run and get the escape. And I like the rebellious, rambunctious nature of playing fuck the police against these people, just showing his attitude. This shit's like the romper room. Why do I feel responsible for these kids, all of whom I'm a father to? I'm a god. Y'all better worship the water I walk on, or y'all gonna meet your Waterloo. So here we have him kind of looking at the whole industry and all these people who are criticizing him, who honestly, we're all inspired by Eminem. There ain't nobody in hip-hop that at least half these people talking about him that to some degree or another can't trace their inspirations back to him, you know? So in a sense, he's responsible for the hate, which is interesting, right? Because he fathered up a whole bunch of shit, you know? And then either worship the dude or he's going to kill you like at the Battle of Waterloo. And then the mic's a murder weapon. Anyway, then he's got a couple more things that are dope. Like I'll pop up and take a spot from you. I'll get to doing what a leaky faucet do. But I ain't talking drip when I say I'll get a drop on you. So it basically, they drip and they drop the leaky faucets. So he's going to clip you because that's what it is. He's going to attack like that. Singing fuck all of you in auto-tune, which is fun because he's saying like I'm going to come in at that. And I'm too volatile and too grizzly to bear because a grizzly bear is a volatile creature. Anyway. Yeah, shit's getting to where I can barely even sit in a chair. I bust my ass for the shit, and I swear it ain't even worth dissing someone so offbeat that they can't even figure out where their words should hit with their kick and the snare. And I kind of did that on purpose because he fucks with his timing like that. And basically, he's like, oh, the industry's kind of fucked. Everybody's doing it wrong. Sound engineers is fucking fixing everything. And then commenting again on how corny everything is, he's like, is it really worth like dissing somebody, especially like a Nick Cannon who's offbeat? They don't really know how to rap properly. Like what? People are just gonna go fucking diss Eminem, make a bunch of trash, but at the end of the day, they don't really get the math and science that drives a proper flow. So like, what's the fucking point? He's like, Eminem's wasting his time on this shit. Anyway, all I had to say, track kind of ends there, it cuts off, the chorus comes through one more time, and like I said earlier, I gave this one a 4.5. I thought it was a great track, all things considered. It is a great way to flow this album forward. And then we get into our first interlude, the Alfred interlude. So here, Dr. Dre, who I believe created these skits, according to Wikipedia's credits at least, kind of adds some music and fucks around with the sound and the tone of this. And just takes the Alfred Hitchcock thing. So he's like, how do you do, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Alfred Hitchcock, and this is music to be murdered by. And I like the way it just starts, like, and again, showing love to the influence to it, but also like kind of bringing a piece of history back. It sounds really cool, right? Because in a sense, Eminem is kind of laid down like a blatant assault on everybody already at this point as we've gone through. Like, he's established some shit. So again, he's reminding us that what this album is supposed to be is essentially music to be murdered by. It's him coming through. But in an Eminem album, you can definitely look at skits as top level topic changes. So the first three tracks kind of are about him and his career. Now we have an introduction segue piece that's gonna, and what I believe is gonna happen is the idea of murdering shifts here as we move in a different direction. This is mood music in a jugular vein. So it's something to listen to and atmospheric in a sense, but it'll like, you know, be kind of murderous because the jugular, if you like pop that, you're dead in like seconds or whatever because it fucking pumps out so much fucking blood. So why don't you relax, lean back, and enjoy yourself until the coroner comes. So the whole point is that you're supposed to be like murked listening to it. It's supposed to fuck you up. I mean, Eminem fucked me up with this album, so I got murdered listening to his shit, no problem. Like, I would never think to diss Eminem now, which I think is the point, where I might have wanted to diss him even a week ago. Maybe. I'm not saying I did. I'm saying I might have thought it and been like, yeah, it's a good idea. What's M gonna do? I'm like, no, he's gonna murder me. I haven't felt that in such a long time. It's really dope. But I also wondered if a double point on this was to take a little shot at Joe Budden, because he has his mood music series, and he's like taking mood music like Joe's attempts, and so I'm gonna jack it up. I'm gonna slash what he did and repurpose it for much better purposes. Either way, I thought this really fit the album. I thought it like is completely listenable. Like, you know, sometimes skits kind of break up the flow of things, or they're comical, but you don't always want to hear them. I felt like as I listened through this, it just kind of added to it and really did serve as a palate cleanser to move into the next track, which is Fire, by the way. So I thought that was really cool. And as far as skits go, honestly, it really worked to add value to the project and to make it more like an art project and less, again, like an album, like something bigger than was before. I don't know. There's also something about Alfred Hitchcock's voice, which is just so haunting and adds effect. So this was perfect. This was a 5 on 5, and it wasn't longer than it needed to be. It was quick, 30 seconds, on to the next one. What is the next one, you may ask? Well, it's Those Kinda Nights. Oh, something I forgot to bring up in terms of, it's not even related to this track, it's more related to You Gonna Learn, and I should have said it there, is a big criticism that was levied at Eminem, especially by Joe Budden, is the lack of featuring Slaughterhouse members or promoting his label guys. And one could argue he did not put any of the Griselda folk on this project. Budden could also say that they have a distribution thing in place rather than actually being signed, so it's not fully the same. But he did put Royce on his album for like the first time in a very long time, like ages. So that was really cool. And all of Slaughterhouse makes an appearance, as you know, at the end of the project. So that was another response to criticism that Eminem took seriously. And the fact that he was willing to listen to criticism, adapt himself, behave in the way that the criticism said you could be better, while then shitting on the people who were just being haters, it comes off really tight. And then one of the things Eminem said, fuck y'all too, is working with Ed Sheeran, and I'm going to do it anyway. Brought in Ed Sheeran. What also happened here actually caught me off guard. Bizarre shows up. So you have Bizarre on the intro. Damn girl with your sexy ass, let me holla at ya. And then the Ed Sheeran, it's just one of those nights. And you're like, what? The beat, by the way, is just something special. It's just this funky club banger. It reminds me a lot of the fun, dancey vibe of White Trash Party, or one of those kinds of songs. And I really love that side of Eminem, like that Nate Dogg Eminem, like shake that ass for me, like that whole world, that whole like, woof, it just feels good. And I guess it's cool because it feels like Eminem's at like a point in his sobriety where it's like he can like think back to this and really just make this kind of a song again. And I guess it doesn't like fuck with them or something, because I can imagine for a while it might be challenging during your sobriety to like tap into that. I don't know, maybe I'm just speculating here. Either way, having Bizarre there, and then the way this starts, this beat's taking me back to my D12 days when we hit the club and go to hell raise. And everything about the energy and the lyrics, it really takes me back to those days. Like, I'm thinking, this sounds like that young, ripped, on fire, ready to go Eminem, like the rambunctious, doesn't give a fuck shady, which it's kind of nice. I'm not even gonna lie. When we hit the club and go to Hellraise, probably end up bagging the cocktail waitress and taking her straight back to the Motel 8. And I'm like, that does sound wild. It sounds like they're not necessarily superstardom yet, and they're just going around. They're like fucking ripping it up, trying to get laid, doing some grungy white trash shit, going to the $50 4-hour motel type shit. Bizarre's just trying to get a lap dance off of Xanax and Jack Dance, so he's kind of ripped. The Stricker, and it's like the way he spits it just has that like fun Eminem's going nuts kind of thing. Now, like I said earlier, I think there's a transition in tone in the album in terms of what we're leading up to, and I'll get to it a little bit more as we move along on the album. But I definitely think we're kind of, again, thinking back, and Eminem is kind of, you know, having some fun, wild shit going on. And that's kind of maybe part of that. But if you think about it, it's also kind of a commentary on what we all do for fun in theory, like what pop culture would believe. Everyone's getting fucked up on painkillers and getting drunk and trying to fuck girls and going out there and being crazy. And if you listen to like pop music, Eminem is basically making a modern rap pop song in terms of the content, right? Like, and he's doing it his way, and he's making it significantly better, I would argue, because it's stuff like the goofiness of stripper walk by. I'm like, God damn. And she's like, that's harassment. I'm like, yeah, and like, I'm at a fucking strip club. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, seriously, here? And I think it's funny though that he's also commentating on the irony of a stripper. And in a sense, if you think about the bigger picture, like Instagram models or basically people strip it on camera and shit in their music videos. And he's like, yeah, and like, what are you gonna do? You're kind of in this world. And I just thought it had this airy, carefree delivery. And then he goes, holy Toledo, it's Miss Ohio, that's the best sauce I've seen in a while. And I'm like, this is fun. Like, he's just being silly. And then I found out Toledo is in Ohio, so it kind of plays like that. We should be dating. She's from Cleveland. She's a Bengal. This chick is catty. So Bengals are cats, right? The Bengals is Cleveland's sports team. Cleveland is in Ohio, and the whole verse just plays in up on Ohio. Well, really, and while commenting on this girl with a fine ass that he wants to fuck. Is that a mini skirt or is it a maxi? So I guess it shows the skirt is so short. Its basically only purpose is to cover cover the vag. I don't know. Maybe I missed that one. That's the shortest thing for a dress in Cincinnati. Get it? Address is shortened to Addy, but also an Adderall maybe would help you get out of the dress, drug reference too. And it's like, it's layered like that because Eminem is just clever. But so it's just, I'm enjoying this. I really, really am enjoying going through these lyrics. She said, fuck off, and threw a liquor at me. It's just one of those nights. And then I said, and then Ed Sheeran comes through crooning. So it's almost like Eminem strikes out with this girl that he thinks is a fat ass because he's all fucked up and wrecked. And I thought it's just like, at the end of the day, Eminem strikes out here. And I think that adds to it because he's acting like a shit, not being respectful, so he doesn't get the girl while commenting on the weirdness of her desire to be like respected in that moment. Anyway, and then Ed Sheeran's chorus is dope. Basically like kind of generic Ed Sheeran-y, smoking bottles on me, I'm flossing, you look good, we dance, etc. It's going to be one of those crazy nights until the break of dawn when everyone's fucked up. And then Eminem's back again, and it's like, this beat keeps taking me back like my ex does, only because of how good the sex was. And I like that because it kind of relates to the first verse, which is a good way to start it, but it's commenting on how, like, the beat is bringing him back in his memories and then his ex-girlfriend's there. But something I liked is how, in a lot of ways in our modern culture, when we break up, if it's great sex, you have a lot of trouble really breaking up. And then you get horny and lonely. And the next thing you know, you're fucking your ex and all this other shit. Then either way, he goes on to the next club and meets Alexa, which is fascinating, right? Especially because Alexa could be like a reference to maybe like literally the internet or something like that, you know, related to the Amazons and shit. Maybe I'm reading again too much into it, but she was so extra, called her, etc. I like that because, you know, that's what you would put when something's so extra in terms of descriptiveness. Like, there's too many things. He would be like, and she's this, that, etc. It's like so extra. And had her like, oh my God, my whole iPod's filled with your songs. I mow my lawn to them. And I think that's funny because I could just picture Eminem really encountering all these moms and stuff and all these women who have homes in the burbs that literally just do mow their lawns listening to Slim Shady. And then he kind of responds and does his thing, Marshall, whatever. And then he's like, jokes aside. And I like how he's so silly and using his, oh my God, blah, 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 Becky. Oh my, like the same voice he used in My Band when he was doing the like, oh my God, Becky, it's Eminem, you know, whatever. Please let me, like that part of that song. So it kind of goes back to that voice, which is cool because he's like thinking back to the D12 days, which is pretty dope. Anyway, so he goes, you straight, as in like, you okay, you know, in terms of sobriety and being focused or whatever. And then she's like, no, I'm bi. And she goes, are you drunk? He goes, I'm high. He's checking out this chick. She's like, so am I. And I like how he just kind of plays through, and he's got this crazy bi high chick, and then she gets the promethazine, runs back. She goes, cool, gotta run out to my Cadillac though, so I'll be like Fat Joe and bring the lean back. That was one of my favorite bars too because it's dope. But basically, she's going to get the lean and bringing the lean back. But Fat Joe, lean back. Anyway, then the next verse comes through, and I like the part. I like how it starts. Like, he cuts off Ed Sheeran. It's just one of those OMG, like the gas in the tank, she getting low on me. And I thought that was funny, just the way he did that. Like, he probably has met up with a bunch of these chicks, and he's trying to get used to dealing with the younger demographic. Anyway, she wants to go with me. She said, out. I'm like a candle. I'll go out if you blow on me. And so if you blow on a candle, the flame goes out. But if you blow on Eminem's penis, he'll feel happier and more inclined to go out with you and have a good time. Walker to the parking lot. Here comes the brigade. Turn like a flip page. Shift. Swifty look shit face. Say peace to McVeigh. Me and this chick take a piece off like a sick day. Me and this chick take off like a sick day. So I like that because he shouts out Swifty and he's out there and he's cruising with her. And then what do you do when you have a sick day? It means you're taking off your day of work. So that's a dope bar too. Then she's like driving around. I said, let's pull over. She said, no problema. Because we're getting up to one of my favorite bars on the album again. Windows are dark tint, roll up the car windows. So now you're hidden over there, Monte Carlo and Park bumping Bizarre's demo. So you can almost picture him having this moment where he meets this chick at the club, playing Bizarre's demo, then getting head in the bucket. That's his car. Marshmallow. I didn't get that bar at first. It went over my head like 5 times. And then I had this moment where I'm sitting there and I just was like, ah, real loud, and Bonnie got mad at me. And I realized marshmallow. His whole gimmick is that he has his head in a fucking bucket. So he's getting head in a bucket. Marshmallow. And I'm like, this is dope. And then it's never in the club, met a woman worth knowing, but if you hoeing, opposites attract. I'm someone, you're a no one. So he's in the club, he's famous, these girls are just whatever, they're hoes. But then he actually ends this song on one of the best lyrics in terms of the cool and complexity. I'm high and you're bi. So high and bi is in hello, goodbye from that point of view. But I'm high as in I'm high. And you already said you're bi because she said that earlier in the track. So that's cool. I'm coming, you're going. So both high and bi and coming and going are opposites, which is a good literary device. But in this doubles over to I'm high and you're a bisexual girl, which makes you super fun. When I'm coming, when I finish and ejaculate, you're going, you're leaving because you're just a one night hoe, like the opposites that attract because I'm someone. And you're no one. And that's just kind of his reality. And Ed Sheeran probably has that reality a lot too. Just throwing it out there. Ed Sheeran is quite famous and quite loved across these parts in the world. I don't know about Canada actually, but I'm pretty sure he's popular here. Anyway, this song is fantastic. This song is an amazing single. Like the way he utilizes the fun, airy nature of Ed Sheeran mixed with his hilarious mix of like him trying to like, you know, get laid and go through this whole shit. The double entendre is just overall, it's an amazing track. It's phenomenal. It's great and easy to listen to. The beat just makes you want to dance. It makes you want to grab a girl and start grinding type shit. I love it. I love the fact that I guess this is our 4th actual song on the album. Holy crap, when I look at how much time I've been recording for, we're only on track 5. Oi. But when I consider how different every single song has been compared to the last, how every single one of them has been great and consistent, and just how fun it's kind of been to listen to this murdering experience. Either way, I gave this a 5 on 5. I thought it was wonderful, and I hope that people aren't going to watch this review and be like, damn, this dude's going in too deep. I feel like I've gone and taking a couple little bathroom breaks, and I hope that the audio is consistent as I slightly move around the room between tracks. Anyway, this song is another on the 4.5 range for me. Equal quality in terms of concept and depth, and what's really incredible about this track is Eminem talking about women and his relationships is a weird one for me. It's either he can do it really, really well, or it's like on Kamikaze and it's a super weird and uncomfortable experience to listen to where you're not necessarily certain what his point is. However, I feel like the way he approached this complex relationship dichotomy, which is a double entendre, I think this is the phase of his album where we're talking about drugs and his relationship with drugs and shit, which is tied into the fame, right? Because one of the things people want is for Eminem to go back into his past and be in a different psyche and shit. So the whole like interlude changes the tone. Those nights does present getting fucked up and doing a lot of drugs and going crazy, right? So it paints it in such a good time, but also in that fucked up way. But in a sense, now the relationship has started. So meanwhile, while he has his actual relationship with, let's say, Kim or whoever it is he's dating, he has this affair that's going on. Now, the way this song is written, it totally, absolutely works as being an affair with another woman and the complexities of maintaining an affair over years. So something you hear about a lot is rappers who have side chicks in this, but nobody looks into the psychology of what happens 2 years later after maintaining two relationships in secret like that. And I love the fact that, again, in that humanistic approach to music, Eminem takes on a topic where, frankly, nobody really discusses it. Nobody really goes through this. So but then if you look at the other meaning, it could also be drug addiction. So this could never work is what we said at first, but whatever this is, it's working, but we're in two different worlds and I'm not your husband and you ain't my girlfriend. So if you do have an affair with somebody else, there's a good chance where it starts off like it can't be real. We're both with other people and stuff, but it could also be like drugs. Like it's never going to happen from when you're young. Just say no and it's ingrained into you. I'm never going to be that person. I'm never going to have that relationship with it. But then you start doing it and all you know is that even though everything's wrong, when I'm with you, I'm a different person and I ain't never met a chick as perfect. Girl, you're a 10, so here I am laying here with her again thinking about you. Now, here's the thing. I've had moments in my past where I can relate to this, where perhaps you want to consume a fiery green plant, and I had a relationship where I may have enjoyed that substance more than the actual affection of people in my life for a while as I coped with pain and darkness over chasing those kind of nights. So whatever you might think about the addictive nature of anything, I can tell you that I know what it feels like to be lying there next to somebody and craving something else entirely, not wanting to be in that moment, just wanting something else to not be happy here, as we'll get to. So I love the fact that this serves as a metaphor. Like, it could be video games. It could be freaking anything, really. So while it could be another woman, I love the metaphor. I love the way he wrote this because it just sounds so realistic. Like, you have your life, your main love that you're supposed to be focused on, and then there's everything else that's getting in the way. But the realism in it, like thinking about you. She's asleep. You're texting me around 2. So in the morning, in the middle of the night, that might be when you sneak off to go do drugs. But it also might be when your girlfriend your side chick who also can't sleep texts you the crying face emoji saying, this is me without you. So, cute, flirting with it, sneaking off to cheap hotel rooms or sex in the car, then I'll text you tomorrow. Do I question it? Nah, no objection at all, because both of us are still involved. So I'm peeling it off. All I'm thinking about is how he's not happy here. So it's a miserable situation, right? Sneaking around, having these casual cheap hookups, like hitting the motels, in the car, here and there. And again, this could be about drugs, just because, it all works out that you're sneaking off to have this like side relationship that you're hiding from somebody else. And at the end of the day, you're not happy because you want to be over there and you're stuck over here in this world. And the way it boils down to is how I'm not happy here. And that chorus just hits. Like, he's got that singy voice he does. And it just has this heavy tone to it, but he's not happy here with her. Rather have you, because you're not happy there. Rather have me, but we're just in too deep. So it kind of pictures like maybe there's wives and there's kids involved. Maybe the relationships are complicated, tied into business. Whatever it is, nobody's leaving their status quo. And I just kind of like how he then flips into her version of things, how things are going. So in his side of it, he's there, he's sneaking off, whatever. He has his thing under control, but simultaneously, there's her perspective where she's laying with him, thinking about me. He's asleep. You're like, let's meet around 3 in the middle of the night. You want to leave. He catches her sneaking out. He's freaking out. And then I like how it's like they go through the part where it's like she thought he was sleeping. She's like, no, I'm just going for a drive. And then she gives him a bunch of lines, pump his ears with what he wants to hear, how he love him, and no, I want to be with you. And then don't you worry about whatever. And then you're crying each other's tears and everything's going to be okay shit because, if you're going out at 3 in the morning, there's a good chance maybe something's not right. But, he follows up with, it's been a couple of years since we've been doing dirt. You or my girl don't want to see either of you get hurt. And I was like, that's interesting, right? Because that's the part where I feel like a lot of people don't really like look into it. Like when you can't tell anymore who you're actually dating, who is your partner, and who is the side thing, because emotionally speaking, it's the lines are really blurred. I like when he's like, I can't tell if I'm cheating on her with you or cheating on you with her, but really nobody's at fault. Can't help who you love. Hope they don't hear us talk because we're both are getting pretty sloppy. Probably because subconsciously part of me is hoping we get caught. So it's like when you are involved in something bad, it adds like a certain degree of stress. So yes, he wants to be with her, but now it's complicated, and living every day with this double life probably weighs down on him. So over time, you try less hard. At first, it's like super mad security, Fort Knox, you'll never get caught type shit. Like look both ways all the time before you even open up the phone. Make sure she can never see it type shit. To you're practically answering text sitting next to her on the couch when she could look over at any moment kind of thing. So I'm just like saying, I like the way he plays it because there's a degree of realism to it. This is kind of what happens, but simultaneously, if you flip it to the drug conversation, the way he flips up the end of that verse, at first when you're trying to hide your drug addiction or whatever, you're going to be real careful. You're going to do everything you can to hide it. And it's not anybody's fault. You love what you love. You're kind of stuck in this addiction being a disease and etc. And you kind of hope nobody catches you, but your level of effort that you put into hiding from the world, what you're hooked on, kind of fades over time, because when you weigh on secrets like that, you end up having this subconscious desire to share it with people. And I just thought it just hit hard. It was so real. Again, the beat and whatever, it's a little less good. So it's a little less sucking me in on that point of view. But lyrically and conceptually, it's just freaking dope, you know? Then you got the third verse where it keeps going. We're laying here with them thinking about us because when we get home, we get jealous of each other being someone else's. Call us Long John Silvers because we sell fish. Get it? Selling fish because they're Long John Silvers. Ocean bars. No, but like, I love the way it evolves, right? Because now it's like, it's moved into the irrational. Like they both go home to the partners and they're jealous that like you have a boyfriend, even though like you're both doing it, and fair things aren't necessarily fair. And then it's like I just want to see you regardless. You know, I don't care if it's at the Ritz or a Motel 6, if it's fancy or poor, rich, anything like that. I'm just with you. I could be around you forever. But I like when it's like, when I'm laying here with you, it could be the kitchen floor. Now that's an interesting part because it kind of is a subtle nod to like when you think back to the Relapse album when he's talking about how they found him on the kitchen floor popping a bunch of pills and shit. So he's just so obsessed with it that he doesn't care to the point where it could be just lying there on the kitchen floor, stoned out of his mind. He could be staying in bed, staring at you till the morn. So that could also reflect to being zonked and just kind of staring aimlessly at the wall and shit. I just want to be your secret lover. I'd rather share you than to not have you at all. So once a year, twice a month, I'm here if you want it. Yeah, I'm open season. I'm always game, so I keep it 100 deer. Get it? Because game is like when you're going hunting, open season hunting bars. So you keep it 100 deer, as in the woman, because he's like being honest with her. But it's also hunting bars. It's fucking dope. But for real, I love the kindness of all of this and how it just kind of is like the begrudging acceptance of being with like two mistresses in your life in a sense. And because we could never be each other's everything. So you got a wedding ring, so it's him instead of me. I'll be your second string now and forever because. And then he does the chorus again. And I like the way he ad-libs the choruses at the end. He does that a few times where he just starts ad-libbing it later on in the track. That's pretty cool. And I like the honesty of this. I like how at the end of the day, there is no happy ending. It's more like you're stuck in this mutual limbo where you take what you can kind of get from the situation as opposed to actually ever getting that full sense of satisfaction. So it's almost like saying when you go into these moments, you're never going to be happy. It's just going to end up in this lukewarm misery that he seems to be describing here with such level of success. Like I said, I get this a 4.5. Track's just about done here. And here's what's up. I'm going to clip this for the end of part 1. Looking at the time, I don't want to go over 2 hours in any one particular part anymore. That's just how we are at with this channel. So it's got to be cut. We're already doing that much. There's still a lot of the album to go do. So I'm going to go edit this and try to get this out as fast as possible. Then I'm going to record parts 2, 3, however long it takes to get through the rest of the project because it's super dope and some of the best parts haven't happened yet. Like, there's been great parts so far, But like there are some seriously powerful things to talk about coming up, and I'm really excited. So let me know in the comments what you think of the album so far, part one. Keep in mind that I will get to the other tracks, but I'd still, if you want to tell me now, you want to tell me how you feel about Darkness, spoiler alert, let me know right away. Tell me what your favorite songs are. Are you excited to see what Eminem does next? All that good stuff. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews, part 2 and probably 3. And yeah, like all that stuff. Special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Kadamsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Hurricane, Linda Williams, Coney Sparks, and Scribble. They're dope. They support what we do, helped us get the new camera, get on the Spotify, all that good shit. They also get to tell us what albums to review, so don't worry. I know I got all your requests in order. They're all coming as fast as we can get them done. Eminem did distract us a little bit, but no, we get in everything when it's supposed to be, hopefully. But yeah, I also make music myself. I'm not going to claim to be an Eminem type person in terms of skill and talent, but I would love for you to check it out and let me know what you think. You can find links to it in the description. I'm on Spotify. Holden Stephan Roy, The Alternative Grind is my latest release. Anyway, thanks. Yeah, I'm going to end it now. Live long and prosper, everyone.